So this is a CNC router. It cuts whatever you want it to cut right there. I know this is an airsoft channel, but if you live in Canada and you live in Ontario, I haven't got to play airsoft in almost 2 years. So, with my spare time, I built this using the internet. If you want to learn how to build this, it's not that hard. I managed to do it, and I have no idea what I'm doing. But if you follow along, I can try to show you what I did. Now, I bought the plans for this machine from the guy on YouTube, Bowtech. I made some changes because in Canada we don't have 15mm plywood. We only have 17.5mm plywood. That's hardwood. So And you can see the plies are way thicker than your standard plywood. Right, so there's many more plies, and it's of hardwood material. I put my drag chain on this side to run on the table, which the Bowtech guy has it running here. I wanted to put limit switches here. They're not hooked up yet, but I'm still trying to figure out how to hook that up to the Arduino. I used just 1/4-inch bolts here, which is a design flaw on my part because the bolts stick at the back on the other axes. So I had to lower my Z-axis in order to get clearance for the bolts, which has destroyed my clearance for my work area. But I'm gonna fix it. It's just I need time. I have enough room here to do signs and stuff that I plan to use this machine for anyway, so for now it's good enough. Now I realize that this is very crude, but honestly I got tired of trying to make this a nice video and just built it. Kind of threw it together to get it done so that I could play with it. Now that I have a CNC router though, I can make a much nicer bracket. In Bowtech's video, he used heavy duty furniture screws. I just had deck screws, so that's what I used. Then I bought a bunch of hardware off of Amazon for the ball screws and the linear rails. I measured 1.5 million times. His plans don't indicate exactly where the holes are supposed to be. He indicates exactly where the rails are supposed to be, and I had to kind of guess where the holes go. I think I'm pretty close, but as many times as I measured, I still missed the holes. So with this CNC router, I'm going to probably CAD these pieces into Fusion 360 and cut them out using the machine so the holes are exactly where they're supposed to be. I didn't get enough linear rail blocks when I bought them. I wasn't paying attention to the plan, and I short a few, so the machine isn't as rigid as it could be, but it's rigid enough to work. I ordered more blocks from Amazon using the M12 rails that are indicated in the plan, but when they arrived, because they're not from the same manufacturer, they fit loose on the rails. So if you buy rails and you buy carriage blocks, make sure you buy everything from the same seller just in case they are different. So I've reordered more carriage blocks so that I have enough and they all fit tight. So under the hood, again, because I used bolts instead of the furniture screws that Bowtech used, they stick out. So I had to add spacers to raise my bed up enough that I could then chamfer the corners of my bed so that they'll actually fit over top of the screws. I didn't put anything in the front, I put everything in the back, which is opposite to what Bowtech did. I didn't see the sense of having a switch for every part of the machine when I can just use a power bar and turn the machine on and off. And the power bar has a 15 amp fuse in it, so to me that seemed pretty safe. My fans, he used small fans blowing on each individual stepper driver from the side. They were very small and I don't know. I found some for $1 at my local Princess Auto in the clearance section. So I used a hole saw, I drilled holes, and I mounted them underneath, blowing up into the machine directly on all 4 stepper drivers. So the air, because I raised the bed up, blows past the stepper motor drivers and through these gaps and down through the machine, and hopefully cools the power supply off a little bit. Now this is just a 12 volt power supply. I think it's a 15 amp 12 volt like he shows in the video, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another one here, and I'm going to do the max voltage I can do on the stepper motors, which I think was 36 volts. I'm not 100% sure, maybe it's 48. 42. The maximum is 42. So I might get a higher voltage power supply for here. I'll run the Arduino and maybe the lights and stuff like that I'm going to add off of this one, and then I'll run the steppers off of a separate power supply. So a lot of the machine isn't finished yet. Like, I messed up this board. They're just screwed in with some screws. They're only like 3/4 of an inch long, directly into the plywood. I have bolts and everything for that. I just wanted to see this thing work, so it's all together. And surprisingly, it doesn't seem to matter. Like, everything works fine just with deck screws and 3/4 inch, only two 3/4 inch hardware. This router is a rigid 2 horsepower, not the Makita one that everybody else uses. It's really heavy. It has a LED light, and it's air cooled, and the air blows down, which clears the workway. But this thing makes a huge mess regardless. If there's enough interest in the comments below, I will take this thing apart and I'll re-show a bunch of stuff. And when I get remake the other components using the machine, I'll repost that again, I guess. I'm gonna speed up a lot of the footage so the assembly video isn't too long. It's already an hour as it is. So if you like the adventures of building random crap on an airsoft channel, hit subscribe. I'm gonna make some more stuff. I realize my video kind of goes step-by-step build all the way up to boom, it's done. But like I said, I ran out of time and I just wasn't figuring it out easy enough to catch it on film. I just had to kind of go as I went and make do. So I'm not gonna lie, I've already been playing with this a little while. My first attempt was this, and I didn't put the board on properly. And then if you pause the machine and come back to it later, it starts over and kind of does whatever it wants to do. The great thing about CNC is it does whatever you tell it to do. The bad thing about CNC is it does whatever it tells you tell it to do. Right there, I accidentally told it to go full depth, and it went about that far, and the router bit came loose and it made a giant mess. But I'm learning, and hopefully also, see, that one went way too deep. But here's our 4th or 5th try. We're gonna try it again.